This is the Bat Pod.
Grab your bat microphone, it's time to start the show.
Welcome to the Bat Pod, a Batman comic book discussion podcast. On today's show, we're going to be discussing Batman 293 and 417.
Swing quick like Tim Drake, fierce like Damien. Grab your headphones, listen up, you know you love it. Drop the facade. Like the Dark Knight detective, they've got some perspective. They're a pure crime-fighting collective. It's the Bat Pod.
Welcome to episode 131. My name is Bill Beer, and joining me tonight, the Lex Luthor of podcasting, J. David Weeder.
Wow, that is such an honor. You know, my billionaire Lex Luthor and my old school purple and green tights Lex
I mentioned
Luthor.
You purple and green. I don't know about the tights thing. How would the tights look?
I'm not a tights person, but that purple and green was a spiffy outfit.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And you were like, and these people out here are probably thinking, Lex Luthor, why are you talking about Lex Luthor? This is a Batman podcast. Well, Lex Luthor is going to appear in one of her books.
Boy, does he.
Super excited about that. So we're going to continue on with our Who Killed the Batman Part 3. Batman 293, as I said. And then we're going to get into 10 Nights of the Beast with the first appearance of the KG Beast, which is very exciting.
Do we have two winners or two losers or one of each? We're going to find out.
We'll see. We'll see. So I just wanted to bring up here, we got an Apple Podcast review, and it was a 5-star review, and the title is Praise, and it says, "You all the best, keep it up," by Bobbit Bob. So we need to get a shout out to Bobbit Bob. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob. And the rest of you can also put reviews on iTunes. It helps the show, or Apple Podcasts. It helps the show get recognized and more people get to hear it.
Absolutely. We really appreciate it. So,
I mean, preferably 5-star, but be honest. We can take
funny
it.
Story. I had this coworker about a year ago, and he was starting to listen to some episodes, and he gave me a review. And he says, "I gave you an honest review." I said, okay. So when it popped up in a day or two, whenever it does, he gave me a 3-star review. And he says, I was being honest. I said, you enjoyed it. I said, only a 3-star? So I talked him up to 4 stars.
There you go. I'm not above negotiation either, or bribery.
So also we got an email, and I haven't really mentioned this. I've only put it in the show notes, but we've gotten a new podcast email, and it's thepodcast@thebatpod.com. And I really haven't mentioned that for some unknown reason. So it's from Billy D, and then he's talking specifically about episode 129. And he says, "Hey guys, Billy D here. The show has been a ton of fun as usual. I really enjoyed your talk about Scarecrow. The way the issue ended reminded me of an episode of Batman in the Animated Series where Scarecrow gets hit with his fear toxin and drives him mad. The courtroom issue sounds like a lot of fun as well. I'll be checking both out soon. Cheers." So good. That was a lot. Thank you for that. We really appreciate that. We'd love to get more emails. That's like our first email in a while, actually.
Also, Billy's had us on his show a couple of times now. So thank you for that, and thanks for the
and
email.
we were specifically talking about, it was on that episode, it was Batman 373, and it was the beginning, I believe, of, Who Killed Batman.
No, we like interaction, so email us, text us, carrier pigeon, light the beacons.
What he said, yes. So, as always, we have a little topic to discuss here, and this week I came up with it, and it was, what is your favorite non-Gotham character to team up with Batman? So, David, I'll let you go first.
It wasn't even you posed the question, and immediately I knew who. For me, it's Deadman. I love when Deadman shows up because, A, it's completely goofy, just the whole Deadman concept, which is why I love it. but Batman just tends to go with it. He tends to just be like, yeah, okay, you're a dead person possessing bodies. Cool. Let's solve a mystery.
Interesting. He does have some interesting stories, I do have to say.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're different. They're not your average, okay, you get a team up with a regular superhero type of thing. There's a different dynamic to that.
Right. Now, I have to give honorable mention, because I went directly to the comics, but honorable mention to Brave and the Bold, the cartoon, Aquaman. Outrageous.
Oh, okay.
You can't beat it.
Right.
Outrageous. What about you?
Very cool. So, I sort of cheated a little. I said, what's your favorite non-Gotham character team up? And, I said character, not characters.
Are you going to do Scooby-Doo?
But I went with characters. No. No. So I went with Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman.
Ooh.
And where this comes from is a story. One of my favorite stories that all three show up in. There's a ton of stories. Matt Wagner did a Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman Trinity book.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. It looks awesome.
It does?
Yeah, it's incredible. It's set during the early years of Batman and Superman's, career, and it's the first time that they meet Wonder Woman, so it's pretty cool. And you get a little Ra's al Ghul in there, so I really enjoyed this particular team up. There's tons of team ups. I thought about this for a while. There's so many team ups you can think of if you go back to, Brave and the Bold and that sort of thing. You could come up with all kinds of team ups.
It was that one, and if you read through Brave and the Bold, they did come up with all kinds.
Oh yeah, they did.
And it's odd because I actually developed a system reading through the showcase where I'm like, okay, Sergeant Rock shows up, this is going to be cool. Wildcat shows up, not as cool as you'd think. But I'll tease this. I've been working on a list for the books for the next year. That means we've been doing this for about a year now. So congratulations. We haven't turned on each other yet.
No, we're less than a month from a year.
Right? Exactly.
Yes.
But B, I've been making a list, so if you like Batman and Wonder Woman, you're going to be in for something this year, Bill.
Ooh. Exciting. You know what I need to do? I need to make a list. Because when we started this little venture, you sent me a list of the next year of books you were going to pick. And me, it's like, I don't know, what am I picking next?
It keeps the surprise going.
What am I picking next? So yeah, it's okay. Very cool. Let's go ahead and we're going to head to the books.
Come on, Robin. To the Batcave. We haven't one moment to lose.
Our first book tonight is Batman 293, released November 2nd, 1977. Just to give you an idea of what era we're talking in. It's the third part of Who Killed Batman, and this is the Testimony of Luthor. And we get a cover here. That's pretty incredible. We got Batman on the top, and at the very top it says special guest villain Lex Luthor. And Lex is, in his classic green and purple and is using these big green gloves. And Superman and Batman are kind of starting to merge together. And he says, I've trapped you in Batman's body, Superman, so when I kill him, you will die. So what did you think of this cover?
This is going to be a weird statement, but the background caught my attention more than anything. It's this vibrant orange and red, and it also reminded me there's a Power Records cover that looks a lot like this with Superman, but once you're able to focus a little bit on what's happening, it's more confusing than enticing, if that makes sense. If you weren't already reading this wouldn't necessarily say, okay, I got to grab this off the stands, because it looks like World's Finest that would be sitting right next to it.
It does. It does look like a World's Finest issue. And I've seen this before, but I haven't, well, I saw that it was part of like this 4-parter, and I hadn't read it. So this is, as I said before, this is my first time reading these, but I thought this was kind of cool. How many times has Lex Luthor appeared on a Batman cover?
You know what it reminds me of? It just dawned on me. You mentioned Lex Luthor. It looks like a Hostess ad.
It kind of does.
Which you could decide if that's good or bad, but that was, when I looked at it, I'm like, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
Old school Hostess. Yeah, it kind of does. I can see that. So the story, David V. Reed. Art, John Cownan, and Tex Blasdell. Colors, Jerry Serpe. Letterer, Ben Oda. And in this issue, the court of Ra's al Ghul reconvenes to hear the testimony of Lex Luthor, who says he killed Batman as a byproduct of killing Superman. Luthor tells the story of how he put a satellite in orbit, manipulated Batman and Superman into standing at just the right spots, and hit each with a maser beam from a satellite. The beams wiped out Batman's mind, transferred Superman's mind into Batman's body. Afterward, Luthor stepped in and killed Superman in Batman's body. His next step is to transfer his own mind in Superman's body and become ruler of the universe. Two-Face proceeds to ruin Luthor's testimony by revealing that Batman, disguised as one of Luthor's gang, learns the details of Luthor's plan. Superman himself crashes into the courtroom, announcing that he has granted amnesty to the criminals assembled there so that he may testify. The Man of Steel explains to Luthor in the court that he shielded himself from the maser beams, substituted for Batman as a spare costume, and pretended to be killed by Luthor, proving Luthor's theory to be wrong. As he gets ready to leave, Superman informs the criminals that Luthor's amnesty ends once he walks out that door, and Superman will be waiting for him. Before leaving, Luthor angrily demands that Two-Face reveal his source of information. However, Two-Face replies he cannot do so if the trial is to proceed. Ra's al Ghul rules in his favor, with Two-Face promising to tell at a later date. The court adjourns to hear the Joker testimony when it reconvenes. So, Batman 293, we get this third part of Who Killed the Batman. What did you think of this issue?
It was hilarious. It is like his whole scheme, Luthor's whole scheme is completely ridiculous.
Oh, it's bonkers. It's bonkers.
It's pure Batman 66. Like, you have to be at this place at this time, and it's just, okay. At one point, you just decide to go with it.
No, and it does remind me a lot of, like, Super Friends 2. It has that feel to it. Like, It could be an episode. But yeah, on the first page here, we see that it's the testimony of Luthor. And Lex Luthor is holding this device up, and he says, there's only one way to kill the Batman. Dominate his mind and destroy him from within. And then it does say, special surprise witness, Superman.
It's weird that Superman looks like Superboy there.
Yeah, he does. He looks a little young. A little young there. And I like the way that this starts out, you know. They start the testimony for the next witness. Ra's al Ghul says, Mr. Prosecutor, call the next witness. And they call Lex Luthor, take the stand. And when you see Lex Luthor here, he looks ridiculous.
It's a regrettable fashion choice. He sticks to his color scheme, but it's regrettable.
Have you seen this suit before?
No.
It's purple and green, and it's like a Superman costume, mostly green with purple cape, and it has an L on the front.
And it's like a matador's cape at that. And buccaneer boots. I just noticed those.
It looks totally ridiculous. And some of the other criminals are commenting, what a get-up. It looks totally ridiculous. That wasn't what I was expecting. When I turned the page, because I read this for the first time, when I turned the page and saw that, it had me laughing out loud because it looks so ridiculous.
I think you messaged me or something on Facebook about it.
Oh, yeah, I did. That's hilarious. They kind of trade insults here, you know, at the beginning, because Luthor says he has an opening statement. He says if a worthy prosecutor has taken his, you know, suggestion to hear him first, this trial would be over and that sort of thing. And then Two-Face quips right back, and I love it. And he says, we await your exalted majesty's testimony. Because he looks, if you put a crown on him, it would be perfect, because the way he's dressed, it looks like that would fit on him perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Just completely over the top.
Yeah. So one thing we get here that we don't get in the other books, because we had Catwoman, we had Riddler, and both were made-up stories. This is the first story where Lex Luthor actually thinks he killed Batman.
Yeah. As far as Lex knows, he did, yeah.
And as we said, this is bonkers. He has, his satellite named Sky Surgeon, and he's going to put Batman and Superman in the right places and have them switch bodies. We get the crown jewel of Charlemagne, and I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not. Gotham Museum of Art. He's going to act like they're going to steal that, bring Batman in, and kind of trap him. He has to be standing at a certain position at 9:17 exactly, and he has to be looking up.
It's like the gag in Wayne's World, the first Wayne's World. Like, he has to be at this place watching this channel at this time.
When they enter, it's 9:11. So they only have 6 minutes to get this done. And then they try to break this door down to get at this crown jewel. And Batman comes in. And here's the thing. He has like a minute and I don't know, so many seconds for his goons to occupy him. There's no way these guys could occupy him for a minute and 10 seconds.
No, and when I thought about it, at first I didn't kick me in the face like it did afterwards. Why does it have to be Batman? Why can't one of the goons be at the right place at the right time?
Right.
If you're just needing somebody who's powerless.
Yeah, why do you go the trouble of Batman? He could get one of these guys.
I mean, it does kind of fall apart, but at the same time, again, I'm kind of going on the goofy flow of this whole story.
Right. So the fight scene is pretty cool. There is one scene, he looks like Batman is holding up his fist after he's missed. And then he gives an elbow. And then you see a panel here where there's actually 3 different Batmans, but it's him flipping one of the guys into the other guys. And I thought that was a cool panel.
I do dig that a lot.
Yeah. So Lex Luthor, they call it a mini flare mortar that he shoots up. So Batman happens to look up precisely at 9:17. He has this piece of equipment that he turns on, and then Batman kind of freaks out. They say he's laming out. Have you used those words before, laming out?
No. I don't think I've even heard that in that context.
Maybe I need to start using that.
Wouldn't
Would that be cool with the kids? No. But yeah, so we get a description here of what actually is going on, and I thought at first there was a spelling error because it says a maser, but then I found out what a maser is. It's a microwave amplification by stimulation emission of radiation, if you didn't know. And he's using this in a satellite called Sky Surgeon, and at the right time, as we said, they're going to have Superman, Batman switch bodies. It actually erases Batman's mind, and Superman's mind is transformed into Batman here. And of course, he set up Superman. He paid $1 million, discreetly to him give a talk. So they have the same thing where he's looking up, and then Superman totally collapses, and he thinks, Superman's body is just there's nothing there, and Superman is actually into Batman.
Yeah, Batman, like his brain is knocking around Batman's body, and so Superman is basically just a husk.
And Luthor is wearing these pain-inducing gloves. I don't know what that is. What is that on the... It's just like a couple bars of steel or something on his knuckles.
Like brass knuckles. Yeah. I would think if from the art, if you didn't tell me what it was, I would think it's kryptonite brass knuckles.
Yeah, and it could be. So yeah, he just beats... because he thinks this is Batman, and he's using this... glove or whatever you want to call it, and just beats the heck out of him. And the one page has pretty good. He's hitting him, in the gut. Batman is grabbing his stomach. He hits him in the face. He hits him in the side. And finally, the dream of a lifetime. The body of Batman was lifeless, but it was Superman I had killed.
Wait, what? So he kind of got a twofer, I guess. What would have made sense is if one of the Gotham villains, supplemented the money for this in order to take Batman out at the same time.
But here, Luthor is such a, I think this is one of the bonker things. He killed Superman in Batman's body. Instead of just like disposing of it, he puts it in his satellite. He puts like a tomb in the satellite, and you can see him like he's rotating around Earth, and it's a see-through coffin or whatever you want to call it.
Of course it is. Actually, that kind of fits, because Luthor's ego would be like, look what I did.
And he's like telling the court, yeah, I leave for Metropolis now to perform the final operation, joining my incomparable brain to the physical supremacy of Superman's body, to reincarnate a superhuman, Lex Luthor, ruler of the world. But Two-Face, like, not so fast. We have some other witnesses, and they call up Sparky Grimes, who seems kind of dumb, but he's like Lex Luthor's aide or whatever you want to call it. And you find out that Batman infiltrated and took over, made a disguise and disguised himself as one of Lex Luthor's goons, and he found out what he was trying to do. So here's a question. Two-Face tells Sparky, he says, I'm going to clear up the mystery for you, because he didn't know. He just thought the guy was confused about something, because he was talking to him, and then he found him knocked out. And Two-Face says, let me clear up the mystery for you. He says, that was Batman in disguise that you saw. And Lex Luthor has a problem with that, and says, I object. How would you even know? How would you even know that? And why do you think he knows? What do you think it's just Two-Face knowing, Batman and how he works and that sort of thing? Or, I mean, you've read this. So.
I've read this. I'm trying. Yeah,
right.
I think I'll say all will be revealed next issue.
Okay.
And leave it at that. Okay,
that's fair enough. So yeah, and you see that Batman and Superman took over for Batman, so when Lex Luthor went to beat the crap out of him, he's beating Superman, and Superman pulled him getting punched, so Luthor didn't break his wrist and that sort of thing, and then Superman comes crashing in, and I thought this was pretty cool.
Yeah, plot twist, Luthor.
Yeah, so it's all explained here, and he figured out it was Luthor who paid the $1 million, because he said he looks at the check closely, and it's Luthor's favorite legal eagles.
It's weird to think supervillains would have a lawyer, but it makes sense too.
So Luthor gets mad at the end, and he kind of just smashes his knuckles together, because he's in his, that has to be at the courtroom, because he's in his Super Luthor suit.
Yep. He's basically been told that everything he's done, all that work, all that money, has been for nothing.
Right. And he thought he was finally done it. He's finally done the thing that he's been trying to do forever. And then, of course, we get Superman tell him he's waiting for him outside. When you're done, he'll be waiting. They say not guilty. So this was I really enjoyed this a lot. Because I can't say you get Lex Luthor in the Batman proper book. So right. I rather enjoyed this story. And as we said, Luthor thought he did kill him, trying to get to Superman. So I did really enjoy this a lot.
Oh, good. I was wondering. I've enjoyed it. Obviously, it was one of my picks.
Yeah.
But I can't. Here's the thing. I can't say it was good quality wise. It was goofy. It was, and this been kind of the thing. But did I enjoy it? Yes.
I enjoy it. Is it one of the top books that I've ever read of Batman? No. No. But it was very entertaining, and with the story that we have going here, the story itself is kind of ridiculous, because everybody's trying to say, yeah, I'm the one that killed Batman. I'm the one that killed Batman. And Batman isn't even dead. I'll give you a spoiler. Spoiler alert. He isn't dead. He's coming back.
Did you read ahead, Bill? How do you know? Okay.
Did not. I did. Well, this is issue 292. He's in the 900s. So I'm thinking he didn't die. So final thoughts about this book?
Just, it's so over the top ridiculous. You can't help but love it.
No.
There's a point where you're like, you know what? I'm just checking out and going with the ride. And that's really all you can ask for sometimes. It's just a good popcorn movie or a good book. Entertain me.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of Batman books like this. And you have to think Batman 66. And, boy, the way Lex Luthor looked, it really made me think Super Friends.
Yeah.
And every time Luthor spoke in this book, I had the voice from Super Friends in my head.
I could see that. And you just picture the Hall of Doom. This is actually almost there. The Hall of Doom just popping out of the swamp.
Right. You have all the guys there, the villains. Well, some of the villains that was in Super Friends, but I thought it was super cool. And then we get next issue, we're going to have the Joker, which I'm looking forward to this. This is a pretty famous issue also. At least the cover. The cover is something that really stands out. So, okay, let's go ahead and we're going to head to this podcast promo.
Oh, hi, Dr. Sterner.
Hello, Paul. How are you doing these days?
Yeah, I'm good. Since you, cured me of my DCOCD, I've got so much more time on my hands. It's been for the best.
Well, personally and professionally, I'm quite proud of what we have achieved, but I have some bad news for you, Paul.
Oh? What?
There's something missing without your DCOCD there.
Oh.
I've even heard friends of yours been saying you're basic, a little boring. There's no there there.
Oh, what should we do about it?
My God, I hate to have to say this, but we have to go bring it back somehow.
Well, shall we do some more sessions and I can use them to talk about DC events that we haven't covered, like Dark Crisis and Fear State, those sorts of things?
I think that might be for the best, Paul. Let's reconvene in 2024 for more sessions of DCOCD.
And that'll make me interesting?
We will see, Paul. We will see.
And we are back this time with Bill's pick from March 1988, Batman number 417, part 1 of 10 Nights of the Beast. This has a cover of Batman swinging over a lit up Gotham City, lit up from below. And this is done by Mike Zeck. What do you think of this cover, Bill?
Oh, I love this cover. This is one of my favorite covers. You don't have a Batman title per se at the top, but it's part of, part 1 of 4, Batman 10 Nights of the Beast. But I think that helps a little bit of seeing this background of the city. And I don't know about you, but it's pretty iconic to see Batman flying through the city like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like Spider-Man, flying through the city. To me personally, I really enjoy this, and I like this art a lot.
I love this art, and I love the coloring, the light coming from below. Because I've always said, and I said this about Daredevil too, Batman exists in a slightly different world adjacent to ours, where it's rooftops and places you don't normally go.
Mm-hmm.
So that light being down there is indicative of the normal people in Gotham City, if there are any left. And Batman's in his own world. You also mentioned you don't see the normal Batman title. This becomes a thing. By changing that trade dress, it makes it look like a miniseries, so it drew more people in. So you see it with things like A Death in the Family and Dark Knight, Dark City, things of that nature. So this is a neat marketing thing, and I believe this might be the first time they did that. Because year 1 was, it was just, the title was just Batman.
And starting with year 1, this is one of those, we get here on our way to 430, 440-ish, we start to get some stories in the Batman book. It starts with year 1. We get 10 Nights of the Beast. We get Death in the Family.
Mm-hmm.
Get year 3. You start to get some stories here that are some of the best.
It really does pick up the momentum here, yeah. There's some not so great ones in there, but
there's some early, before we get to 417, there's some Jason Todd stories. Definitely aren't my favorite. You get some Max Allan Collins that maybe aren't my favorite. I do have it collected, but might not be my favorite. So
no, this is wonderful cover, and I think you nailed it. This is just it's kind of like the roller coaster going up the hill to really get moving. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But inside this bad boy, our writer is Jim Starlin. Our penciler is the legendary Jim Aparo. The inker is Mike DiCarlo. Letter was Augustin Moss. and colors by Adrian Roy. So the story goes as follows. KGB agent Andrei Yuvashenko arrives at Gotham to issue a dire warning. While Mikhail Gorbachev cleaned up a lot of the Russian government, a dangerous top-secret extremist KGB cell, called the Hammer, has just been dismantled. But they managed to send a top assassin codenamed the Beast, or nicknamed KG Beast, by the FBI, on one last unapproved mission. The Beast has come to Gotham City to kill 9 people crucial to the American Strategic Defense Initiative, also known as the Star Wars program. He's working with the aid of a Shiite terrorist, Nabi Salari. Yuvashenko was sent by the Soviet government to warn them because the Russians do not want an international incident. The team established to stop the KG Beast consists of Gotham's own Police Commissioner Gordon, CIA agent Ralph Bundy, not Al Bundy, FBI agent Keith Parker, also all of the men respectively at each of their disposals, and, unannounced as of yet, the Batman himself. Gordon is surprised to hear that the KG Beast has already killed 2 of the people on his hit list, deaths which the Gotham City Police Department had investigated and found to be accidental. SDI Senior Administrator Michael Roberts appeared to have a fatal heart attack in his sleep, while scientist Terry Kavanaugh was decapitated on a motorcycle by a wire strung across the highway between 2 telephone poles, something the police dismissed as a prank gone bad. Batman leaves to warn the third man on the list, a Jason Green, but arriving at his workplace, he finds him being thrown off the roof by the KG Beast himself. Batman is mid-swing, but he's forced to let go of the bat rope to catch Green. Batman falls down the side of the building with nothing but tumbling, the features of the building itself, and whatever cushion he can find at the bottom to help ease his descent. At the bottom, Batman finds Green's neck is broken, which he assumes probably happened before the KG Beast threw him. Later, laser technician Dennis Kane is electrocuted at his workplace by Nabin Salari disguised as a janitor. Although Keith Parker finds it reprehensible to work with vigilantes, Ralph Bundy's a little bit more relaxed with this and used to dealing with some shady characters for the greater good. So Bundy, Gordon, Batman, and Robin have their own meeting at the park. Batman tells Robin that in a city where he has millions of places to hide, the only way to catch the Beast is to make him come to them. And so ends part 1. So Bill, this was your pick. What do you think?
Well, this was one of my favorites growing up. I was really excited to revisit this again because it's been a while. And we're not going to discuss it until we hit part 4. And everybody knows exactly what we're talking about. I have some thoughts here that may be surprising. I like the setup of this book. I like, from the beginning to the end, it feels there's a lot going on. There doesn't seem to be any downtime in this first issue. And I really enjoy it. I mean, we start off, we get DEA agents and they're trying to get some drug smugglers, and you see these 2 shadowy figures in the first page, and we know as the KG Beast, Anatoly Kanzif. Is that how you say that?
As close as we're going to get, yeah. We apologize if we mispronounced these.
Yeah, and we get a scene here where he's holding these 2 trunks behind his back with his arms up, and he beats the crap out of these guys. And it's a pretty classic fight scene here. He's using this trunk. What did you think of this scene?
Brutal. And it sets the tone right out of the gate.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me a little bit, and this is backwards logic, but when Doomsday first showed up and he had one arm behind his back and he's trouncing the Justice League, that's how the KG Beast basically makes his entrance.
Yeah, exactly. And Jim Aparo's art here, oh my gosh, the facial expressions. There's a couple facial expressions here. One where he just has his hands around this guy's neck, and one where, the guy just looks stunned.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? Is the guy stunned or is he straight up dead?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Come on, you get hit with, I don't know how heavy those things are, but I can't imagine. And, they'll get into it here, but he's more than just a man. It's not like you're just having a man throw around these things.
No, and I get the feeling that this is the way it's presented, that this was seconds. This was only seconds worth of time. And these guys are done and dusted.
All right. I mean, we get a story here, they talk about the Hammer. It was a top secret organization with the KGB, and the power of this Hammer group grew. And they even mention, some 80s politics here, Mikhail Gorbachev and they'll mention Ronald Reagan here a little bit. I like this one-page panel, where you see that I'm not even going to try to pronounce the last name of this KGB agent we see talking and describing the hammer and that sort of thing, because his name is about a yard long. But I really like the scene set up, and they go to, take out the head of the hammer, the other KGB agents, and he has drank cyanide. The only thing that they find is some paperwork in the fire, and it says Gotham City. And when I saw that, I was pretty excited about that. It was like, okay, how's this going to go?
Mm-hmm.
I knew nothing about what 10 Nights of the Beast even was. And we didn't know at this point that this guy holding these cases was going to be the Beast.
No, and I don't think we would have expected politics.
No.
In our, like not political themes, but straight up politics from the evening news to come into our comics like this.
It wasn't like fake politicians or that sort of thing. It's the real ones at the time. And I don't know if I was I'm thinking I'm like 17 years old when this came out, so I'm not really into politics all that much. So of course I know who they are and that sort of thing. But this book is kind of unique for that, because it does have some of the real world people in them, and they don't always do that. That's for sure.
No, they make up their own president, and this isn't like, this is deep. This is a political thriller.
It is a political thread. It has a lot to do with politics, because the whole story, they're talking about, Reagan and his, they have this Operation Skywalker, and then they describe this guy. He's cybernetically enhanced. He's like 4 guys. He has, he's learned to, the master of several martial arts and weapons and that sort of thing. And he's coming to shut down this Star Wars program. And at the time, if you knew anything about that, it was like, this is talking about stuff that's happening in the news.
Mm-hmm. That was in process there. And I don't think I understood it at the time. I think I was younger than 17, but...
No, I didn't either. And, they kept saying SDI. I had no idea what that was, but it was the actual nickname for the Star Wars program. It was the Strategic Defense Initiative.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a proposed missile system intended to protect the United States from attacks from nuclear weapons.
I knew it involved satellites and trajectories and trying to, lasers. Not masers, but lasers, yeah.
Right. Not masers here. So, yeah. So this was real world stuff. And I didn't really remember this when I read this again. It was like, I'm not a very political person. I'm not going to go anywhere and say, hey, you should vote like this, you should do this, you should do that sort of thing. So when politics come into stuff, I don't necessarily love it, but I didn't really mind this because it was like, 40 years ago, basically?
Ouch. Yeah.
Almost. Wow, that ages. Wow. 40 years. So, yeah, I didn't really mind this. We have a distinct strategy of what this, Operation Skywalker, this KGB beast, which we will come to know, and they're sitting around the table talking to Commissioner Gordon. They basically tell him what's going on. The head of the KGB there, and I don't know why he would be helping.
This was a time, if you remember, that the U.S. and the Soviet Union were coming to terms. The Cold War was thawing, and they didn't want to. I mean, what they're saying is we don't want that incident when this is actually moving in the right direction. So it makes sense that they warned him.
Yeah. So they tell Gordon that this beast has already killed 2 people, and they just call him the Beast. And then you see, he comes in somebody's hotel room. It was Michael Roberts, the senior administrator of SDI projects, and he basically smothers him to death. And they think he died of natural causes, but his hand is all crippled or I don't know what his hand is doing there.
I mean, it's a little rigor mortis. That could happen with a heart attack, though.
Yeah. And then we get Terry Kavanaugh, who gets decapitated while riding a motorcycle.
And not implied. This is full on the page, by the way.
Yes, and this is the comics code. You see him get decapitated. So there is a funny scene coming up here because Gordon tells him this has gotten too big for you to handle. And he says, yeah, I'm going to need some more manpower. And this is the FBI talking. And he shows these FBI agents. And this made me chuckle because they look identical. It's 5 guys. They look identical pretty much, except for hair color. There are slight differences, but their hair is all different color, but they're wearing the exact same suit. And he says, let me introduce you to our team. FBI agent Mac Donald, Agent Leonard, Agent Perry, Agent Stout, and Agent Greeley.
It's like they were cloned.
It does. It looks like they were cloned exactly.
Yeah, I laughed at that too.
And here's a part I enjoyed. We get this FBI agent, and he said, we need help, but this is not a veiled offer to employ the services of your pet vigilante. And he even calls Batman a hooligan. And of course, Commissioner Gordon's going to defend Batman. And he's pretty heated that he doesn't want him messing around with this case. And then we see Batman and Robin here. And they've been listening in on this conversation. And you can tell they're in the dark. It's almost like the moonlight or the city lights. They're all in yellow, Batman and Robin is. Batman really doesn't want to listen. He says, I sense a lecture of evils of amateur law enforcement. He says, I'll be back in a while.
Yeah, this is the boring part, Robin. You go ahead and clue in there.
Right, you hang out. Robin really doesn't do much in this one, except he listens to this conversation. And Batman's headed, because he knows one of the people that are involved. He says he's a good man, Jason Green, and he says he thinks that he would be on, and that's the first time he say KGB's hit list. And he says, continue listening to the meeting. He's going to go and try to save, but it's going to be too late for Mr. Green because the Beast showed up. So here, I want your initial thoughts of what you thought when you see the KG Beast in uniform for the first time.
I thought of Bane, and I actually sat there and thought about it because, like, is Bane kind of derivative of him? Because Bane came after, of course, but kind of put things in a slightly different perspective. But yeah, it was.
He has a slightly different costume.
Have you ever seen Pulp Fiction?
Yes. He has the short shorts. I guess at the time I didn't think much of it because, Robin had the short shorts, but you're designing a costume to look, you want to look scary or menacing or whatever. I wouldn't think you would have like diver shorts on, diver trunks.
Those are Speedos, yeah. They look leather. They look very bondage-ish.
Yeah. And he has boots that come up over his knees. Maybe it's pretty warm out in Gotham this time of year. So yeah, and he starts beating him. He has like spikes on his knuckle, and he has some kind of gun, and he hits him. And then Batman, once he gets there, he sees him being thrown off the roof. And of course, he's going to go after him. And this is one of my favorite scenes in this book. The art, it's all art, basically. It has the little boxes, not thought balloons, but little boxes of him talking. And he grabs onto him, and as he's falling, he goes to grab onto the old trusty flagpole. That doesn't work. Can't hold on. He tries a telephone wire. That breaks. Some people were going to miss some telephone calls there.
I don't know. The end of this is intense. This is a great action sequence. And the only complaint I have is that they kind of take the Fast and the Furious route, meaning they land on a roof of a car. That's not a soft place to land.
No, it isn't.
That's not a trampoline.
And they're trying to show that he's trying to stop some of his momentum because he hits a little piece of building to try to break his fall a little bit, but, he doesn't have an armored costume.
No, not that we know of.
Maybe a little Kevlar there, and he hits the top of roof of a car. And
do you think in the DC universe that's covered by insurance? Because superheroes are a thing.
I would think so.
So the insurance policies have to be different.
Yeah, I would think. What does the Marvel universe have? They have
damage control.
Yes, damage control. That's right. I remember reading some of that. Yeah, maybe they have something like that. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, I would want some kind of insurance. Your car gets all busted up, and you said, I don't know what happened. It just my roof is all smashed in. But then they go to meet Gordon, and they're like shocked to see Gordon has brought along the CIA. And he says, unlike the FBI, the CIA is used to dealing with unorthodox people. And Batman has found, he's found a list that Jason Green has of 10 people that are going to, the Beast is going to want dead. So these 10 people they need to protect.
Don't we have a name checked off already?
Yeah, at least a couple. And then they said working with the Beast is this Iranian terrorist, and they have a picture of him, but it's too late. He have this guy Dennis Kane, and he's got some wild sunglasses. It almost looks like the old 3D glasses that you wore at the movies.
A little bit,
like the old.
Well, he's working with lasers, so they're safety goggles.
He gets electrocuted, so the janitor throws water on him, and he gets electrocuted. And
the murders, the deaths in this are brutal. I mean, just left and right.
So they come to find out that Sylvia Burrows is the only one they don't have protected at the moment. And the last name on the list, what they don't mention, is some guy in Washington, but he's well protected. And he has Secret Service agents.
Who could that be?
I don't know. That doesn't... What? Secret Service agents? I have no idea. I said this, Sylvia's with her boyfriend, and here we get, as this book ends, we get somebody in shadow giving the Beast details of the Sylvia Burrows, and said she's at her friend's house, written address on a piece of paper. And you got the KG Beast. I mean, he has his costume on, but he's under a coat and a fedora. Which is pretty funny. And then Batman comes up with a plan that he says, the only way to get him is make him come to us and hope we survive the experience. And,
yeah, right.
Let's continue next issue. So this is one of those stories, we get in this first issue, we get an introduction to what's going on, but it is pretty action-packed. There's a lot of things that are happening in here, and you think, or at least I thought at the time, is like, how's Batman going to take out this guy? This seems rather impossible.
Yeah, and then the more I thought about it, the more and I haven't read ahead, and it's been forever since I read this. You feel like somebody like the Beast or the KG Beast would be prepared for Batman. I'm going to Gotham. There's going to be something to do with Batman.
You would think so. And you mentioned Bane before, and of course Bane wasn't around yet.
Mm-mm.
So this was pre-Bane. But I love the artwork in this. I really enjoy it. It's just good stuff. I mean, it's Jim Aparo, one of the...
It's hard to get mad at Jim Aparo. I don't think I've ever found myself disliking Jim Aparo art.
No. So, final thoughts on this book?
This is intriguing. This drags you in. And the thing is, there's not a ton that happens as far as story beats, because mostly it's a meeting and it reflects back on certain deaths, but you're like, I have to read the next issue. I haven't yet, but it grabs you.
Oh, it grabs you. Yes, definitely.
And it's weird. We had two books that the tones couldn't be more different.
Oh yeah. This is very serious compared to no jokey in here, but it was some serious stuff here compared to the Batman 66 nature of the last story. So, okay. So let's go ahead, and we're going to head to what we learned.
To the Batmobile. Let's go. Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed. You're ready to move up.
So, David, what did you learn in this episode?
I learned that if I ever end up in court, I need to make sure I'm wearing a tights and a matador cape and boots.
And if you ever do that, end up in court with the matador cape and boots and the tights, you got to throw in the tights there. I would like somebody to take a picture of that, please, and send it to me.
Oh, it'll be on social media.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be great.
What did you learn this time around, Bill?
So I learned that I'm never going to be, I've never rode on a motorcycle. I don't have any interest in riding on a motorcycle. And after this issue, I definitely don't, because you're not going to be able to see. If somebody just wanted to put a wire across and see what happens when you run into it, even if it doesn't decapitate you, I think it would not feel fun, that's for sure.
No, and this is the second comic-related motorcycle accident I've read, because the other one was in X-Men, and it was Gambit and Rogue, and they thankfully it hit Rogue because Gambit ducked. Chivalry's maybe a little dead.
Oh, right.
So, long story short, like I won't get on a motorcycle because if I hit a wire with a car, it doesn't take my head off or knock me out of the car. Physics.
Oh, there you go. What we learned. We'll be back here in a few weeks. We're going to end their Who Killed Batman storyline with a little Joker, and we get part 2 of 10 Nights of the Beast, and very excited about both of them, actually. I'm pretty excited to see how your story ends in part 2 of 10 Nights of the Beast.
Going to be another really totally different episode. I'm kind of excited about that.
Well, you know what's coming with the Joker story, the testimony of the Joker, so I am in the dark as of right now, so I'm looking forward to that. So before we get out of here, as always, David, do you have any final thoughts or wisdom?
Just an anecdote. Apparently in 2009, there was a website created called thebeatlesneverbroakeup.com, and this person, James Richards, told a story where he fell into an alternate universe where the Beatles didn't break up, and he brought back an album that was never released here. It's all mashups from old Beatles stuff, but just seek it out at your own whim, if you like.
Interesting.
I mean, it's somebody that's mixing and sampling, but it's kind of a cool story in and of itself. I don't believe a bit of it, just to be clear.
Now I'm gonna disappoint you greatly, and I'll explain it a little bit. Don't love the Beatles.
Then you haven't listened to enough Beatles.
And here's why. And I have. At where I used to work, every day for 4 years, and this is no joke, every day for 4 years they listened to the Beatles nonstop. Every song, over and over, back to back. So it kind of wore me out. Now, I haven't listened to them in a long time, so maybe that has not lasted. But there were several guys there that just loved the Beatles. And it's like, can we listen to something else just once? No?
No.
So, yeah. So there's our non-comic book related story. So, okay. Until next time. Same bet time, same bet channel. We will see you later.